I really need to step up my duck game.
I think this being the year of the green heron.
Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 12 of the Feathery Treasury Show. I'm your host Aaron, and as always, I'm joined by Alex. How you doing today, Alex?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad. Hanging in there.
Nice weather out there.
It's very nice weather. Finally some really... I mean, it wasn't a bad winter, but it's that prime mid-60s, mid-70s now the last couple days.
Before it gets humid and too warm.
Really nice. It rained for 3 or 4 days straight last week, so now everything's all green and the leaves came out of nowhere, so it's perfect walking weather.
And it brought the birds out again.
Sometimes
you need a little bit of rain.
Yeah.
I feel we've had a bit of a drought, so having the water kind of raised the pond levels up and the lake levels. So
yeah, plenty of bugs now for all the birds to eat, and buds and flowers and everything.
I was attacked by my first mosquito this week.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. Well, so like we always do, right before we're recording, we went for a little bird walk. We didn't go too far this time. We just went to the park right by my place, but we had a nice little surprise.
Yeah, it was a lot of... Started out pretty nice with some great egrets.
Yeah.
A couple of cormorants, but it was... we saw a bird that looked probably like a swallow or maybe a killdeer flying across, and it landed, and it was a spotted sandpiper.
Yeah, it was so I saw first one I saw was back in 2021, but for you this was a lifer.
It was a lifer. I've heard one before but not seen one. So
yeah, so that was a nice little surprise lifer for you, because we just wanted to do a quick walk before the record, and we thought we'd just do the regular stuff, maybe something new for the year. Yeah, but we weren't counting on it. So for you to get a lifer out of this kind of a throwaway walk was a nice surprise. But yeah, it was maybe slightly smaller than a killdeer, but it was flying right above the water, kind of like how a swallow does. So yeah, we weren't really sure what it was.
And then when it landed, I was looking at sandpipers, and it was bobbing its tail.
Yeah, it was kind of bobbing its butt up and down.
Per Merlin, that's quite a recognizable trait. It had the stripe by its eye, and its beak goes yellow and then black at the tip, and there's nothing really else that had those.
It was a textbook spotted sandpiper.
Yeah. Good way to celebrate the birding year. What's this?
The Great Birding Day tomorrow, I think. Tomorrow, as of recording tomorrow. By the time this comes out, it will have passed. But it's May 11th is like the big birding day that I think Cornell Lab puts it on, the people who run eBird. It just
promote people to get out there and
promotes people to get out for spring season and to use eBird and use their resources. But they like to have one big day where everybody tries to get out at the same time and see as much as they can. So we did ours the day early.
Yeah, I'll probably be out tomorrow. Think you'll get out for a little stretch?
Yeah, probably just around the neighborhood or something, but I'll get a checklist going just for the spirit of it.
See what we see.
Probably won't see anything crazy, but you never know, like we proved today. So that was today's walk, but what we had been doing since the last recording was almost every week we were going out for one, sometimes even 2 walks in a week, because for a while there I was unemployed. You're not working at the moment, so we had
it's great time for birding.
Yeah. So we were doing midday walks, which was really nice. We were going to these parks. It was nice and empty. At the beginning there, the weather wasn't the best yet, so that kept people away too. So it was just us and the birds.
Yeah, we were doing some sort of, because especially beginning of March, it was kind of cooler, so we just did regular place with short loops, because we knew we weren't going to see a lot.
We weren't willing to drive super far.
Yeah, we did. So if you're in Minnesota, like the Vadnais Lake chains, Coon Rapids Dam, which we've done previously, and we know, we'll get a little wander, we'll probably see
some new stuff for the year, probably not see some lifers, those kind of parks.
Yeah, it was quiet initially. We'd maybe see, 10, 15 species?
Yeah, we'd see some ducks, see some woodpeckers.
A lot of woodpeckers.
But yeah, it was as soon as the spring migration started to kick in, though, things really started to pop off.
Yeah, every week it seemed we got more and more total species we saw.
And so, we went to quite a few parks, and you were very kind enough to today kind of go through and list them out for us, because trying to remember all of these and all the different things we saw at each one would have been a chore to do.
Yeah, small spoiler for later on the episode, but we got quite a lot of special sightings, so
yeah,
we had to we're going to run through some of this, but don't worry, the big stuff happens later.
So here's the boring stuff.
Yeah.
But you kind of broke it down by park, so let's just kind of run through this quick what we saw. So for Sucker Lake, that's kind of right by Vadnais, right?
Yeah, there's like
area.
a chain of lakes
right.
there. We've been a few times.
We went twice in March and then again in April. The first time we went, we saw some common goldeneyes, some common mergansers. Did see a northern shrike.
Was that third or fourth sighting of a northern shrike where I'd never seen one, and then every time we went out,
we were seeing a bunch. I think that might have been the last one we saw, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of came and went early in the year. More of a winter bird around here, I think.
I think you got a good picture of that because that was one was on the dead trees.
Yeah, I got a decent picture of that one. The second time we went to Sucker Lake, but we also went to Snail Lake that time.
Bit of a bigger loop. We saw kinglets last year we went there. It was
That's
where the
right,
recount kinglets were.
Yeah, so this time we saw American tree sparrows. I think that was probably the first of the year for us.
Yep, lifer for me, I think.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Pine siskins, which was...
That was an effort.
Kind of a lifer for you? Well,
yeah.
We had counted it earlier in the year, but you only really heard them that time around.
Yes.
So this was your first time actually seeing them.
And we were hunting for them too, right? We went right into the woods. There's like a little copse of trees between the lakes, and it seems to be a good prime territory for birds just kind of coming in across the lakes.
Yeah.
And we heard them, was like, if we can just see it.
And we stood there for, 15, 20 minutes just hearing them up in the pine trees, but with all the pine needles, you just couldn't see them. Finally, we saw a couple of them flitting around. And then after that, all of a sudden, we saw all sorts of them.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
And that was in the process we heard the red-breasted nuthatch.
Yeah, so off in the distance, we heard the red-breasted nuthatch. I did end up seeing it briefly. I got a very blurry picture of it. By the time I said something, it had flown off.
I was looking at a siskin. I was looking at a siskin.
But so we marked it down as I saw it, and it was marked down for you as a lifer, even though you only heard it.
It didn't feel right, but fortunately, I went probably a month later, and I saw it for real.
Yeah,
so it was
probably the same individual.
Yeah, I think it must.
Nice redemption.
Hang on there. Yeah, that felt good.
Yeah. And then we saw a couple sandhill cranes that time. I remember that.
Yeah, they came flying in.
Yeah, they were loud too. They always are. And plenty of woodpeckers.
It was
always woodpeckers.
Yeah, a lot of red bellies, a lot of downies and hairies mainly.
Yeah. And the third time we went up that way was the usual stuff we had seen the other two trips, but then also there was a couple buffleheads there, and one common loon was just. I think that's the only one so far of the year for both of us.
Yeah, and we've been to a few different lakes where I've seen them historically.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen more, but we saw a single one just sitting out in the middle like loons do.
Yeah, they exist still.
Yeah, so that was Sucker Lake, that area. So a good crop of birds there. And then we also did. We kind of paired together two parks. We did Springbrook Nature Center, which is pretty close to me, like 10 minutes from me. We met up there, and then we drove up together then to the Coon Rapids Dam, which is a regional park, kind of right on the Mississippi.
I think there was sightings of a fox sparrow there, and I think that was why we were hoping to see one.
At Springbrook, there was on eBird, people were reporting a fox sparrow coming to the bird feeder. So we were kind of hopeful we would see it. We didn't end up seeing it there. We saw it later, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But while we were doing that loop there, we got a really good close-up look of some wild turkeys.
Yeah.
Which, see those quite a bit, except there was a
male.
A male one, with his little gathering of female wild turkeys. But he had his feathers all splayed out and everything. Is really a good look at the colors and just the grandiose appeal of him.
Yeah, they weren't too worried about us.
No.
Not that we treaded too close, but
there was a field trip there that day, so I think maybe they were a little desensitized to noises and stuff. But
do you have some of those pictures online, right, to post it?
Yeah. And if you're watching the YouTube version of this, I'll be putting these pictures up as we talk about them, so you'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah. There's some grackles there as well.
Some grackles, and then there was some killdeer up at the Coon Rapids Dam, which was nice. That was the first killdeer of the year, I think. And
we were looking for your, as of that moment, was your white whale was the redhead.
That's right, yeah.
That's changed. Again, spoiler changes, but I've seen them there before, and we were hopeful, but it was...
But really, I went up there earlier in the year. I think I talked about it in the last episode, and saw quite a few waterfowl. But then by the time we went together, things had thawed out everywhere else.
It was just pigeons.
So there's just a bunch of pigeons. The waterfowl had mostly moved on. when I went, that was probably the only spot without frozen water. So it was kind of congregated them there, but a little lackluster up at the dam that day. But overall, it was a good day.
Yeah, you never know. You never know what
you gotta go see what's there, because if you don't go look, you won't know. So that was Springbrook and Coon Rapids Dam, and then one of our other parks we checked out was the Harriet Alexander Nature Center, which it's behind a wildlife rehabilitation center.
We've done the boardwalk a few times out there.
It's this nice long boardwalk weaving through this marshy area, and then there's also a separate little dirt trail then too that you can do.
Yeah.
But it's a good spot to check out. The day we went, it was a little overcast, kind of misting.
We went to the nature center. It was very nice inside, but they did need to put more food in the feeders because nothing
were empty,
was.
So we kind of stared out the window for 3 minutes, and then okay, I guess we'll move on. But the boardwalk was nice. We saw some song sparrows. They were the first of the year. They were kind of the first ones to show up with the red-winged blackbirds.
Yeah, you got some great photos where
some great photos of sad song sparrows sitting in the rain.
Little water droplets on the twigs and stuff around them.
They didn't seem too pleased that they had showed up maybe like a week too early.
Well, it was sunny, I think, that week, and then it just changed. There
was like snow that night. It melted, I think, by the time we got there, but there's a single green-winged teal. That was a nice little surprise.
We went all along the dirt road hoping for something, the little dirt trail around. And
dirt trail has got the couple ponds kind of right at the end, and that's where, a couple of years ago, that's where we saw your first killdeer.
It was,
those little ponds. So we took the little stroll back there, and there's just a bunch of mallards and then a single green-winged teal.
Which we've both seen, but they're not very often. I feel like it's the least. Like I see blue-winged teals more frequently.
Have we seen any more since this year?
I don't think so. I think that was our
the only one and only this year.
Yeah.
And like those are, maybe we'll see more the rest of the year, but it's not like you see them all the time.
No.
At least not as much as we get out. I'm sure there are people out there who are seeing them every day, but.
And then there was a park across the way from the boardwalk, and
right.
it was a baseball field. Mm-hmm. And inside there was starlings, which was first of the year. Yeah. Juncos, which I think have been milling about already. Yeah. Brown-headed cowbirds, which was first time, and then the red-winged blackbirds. They were all just kind of hanging out together.
A nice little flock of blackbirds. It was nice.
But it was a sign. It was a sign we felt.
Things were on the way. We were still early on, but we were getting there.
I think now we're into April, I think, for these ones.
So for the next one, we were in April, and this is where things really started to come together for us as far as numbers of birds go, and adding lifers to our list.
Yeah, we figured we took shorter treks that were nearby, 10, 15 minutes, because we didn't want to drive 30 minutes for when you only get to see a few things. Right. But when it got to April, we went to Bass Ponds and the Old Cedar Bridge on the Mississippi, because we knew it was about I think it's about a 30-minute drive for me. So we thought, if we timed it right, we'd see some good birds, maybe some lifers.
Especially waterfowl was kind of our goal with this one. It's a very good waterfowl spot.
And yeah, we're not disappointed.
No, we weren't. So it was a nice long walk along the river, and then kind of you reach these ponds, the Bass Ponds. We loop around those, and then you come back along the same side of the river. So it's a nice out and back trek. There were plenty of trumpeter swans, probably all total a couple dozen, I would say.
Yep. Gadwalls?
Gadwalls.
Was that your lifer?
That was a lifer.
Lifer for me.
Yeah. They're pretty bland ducks, I would say.
Yeah, we were able to identify them easily enough. I don't think we needed to check later on. Because some of them were relying on Aaron taking pictures and looking later because we're off in the distance.
I relied on the pictures for the number of gadwalls.
Yeah.
So we knew we had seen them.
Yeah.
But I got an accurate count on our numbers.
And then you had another lifer, right?
Yeah, it was some northern shovelers. Actually, no, it wasn't a lifer for me. It was the first one since like 2017.
Oh, okay.
So
feels like a lifer.
It feels like a lifer, yeah. And I remember the other one, I barely got a good look at it or anything. So I think I only had my phone with me, so I have like a blurry phone picture of it.
So now we actually got to see them. There was some, and they were all quite close to where we definitely got good looks at them through the knocks. And
the problem is if you get a little too close, then they all turn and start swimming away. And so you just get a good look at their butts.
Yeah.
But there are a couple that sat good for us.
Told my birds I was pie-bill grebes.
Yeah.
Every time I looked at one, I thought, oh, it's pie-bill grebe. Aaron, look, and it would dive under. And I felt like they were taunting me, but we did get them confirmed for the year.
Yeah, finally they popped back up, and so we got confirmed. So that was another one for the year. And then, tons of American coots. They were in the throes of their migration, and if you're in their migration path, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So many of them.
I think you gave up sort of counting, didn't you? Did you get to about 300?
I just said around 300.
But they were everywhere. And it's one of those things where you think you see them all, and then you'd see on the other side of the reeds where there's more of the river, there'd just be more shapes. Like, there's got to be more of them.
And they cluster together so much too, where it's hard to pick apart how many there actually are.
But I don't know if I saw them last year. I think it was the year before, so it was good to get them on the list.
Yeah, so those were all on the river itself. And then we reached the Bass Ponds, which is there's like 3 or 4 of them there.
Yeah. I think they were quieter than usual just because the water level was low.
Lot going on.
But we did. You saw a belted kingfisher from a distance. I did see, but it was a great spot on the other side. Fox sparrows.
Yeah. Fox sparrows.
We followed them into the undergrowth a little bit, so I got a really good look at them. Mm-hmm. Yellow rumped warblers.
Yeah.
And the ruby crowned kinglets, a couple of them. So again, we were starting to see more stuff.
Slow activity, some winter stuff hanging around, but some spring stuff starting to show up.
Which comparison, the trip we did after that was Lake Como Reservoir Woods, which I'd went to earlier in the year and it was quiet, but I sensed it was a place that could be good.
Which Lake Como is a little more of an urban lake, but it still had a decent amount of stuff going on with it.
But no loons, because I've seen loons there, and I've seen I think a horn grebe there too, or
that's
a
what we were
red-breasted.
kind of hoping was the grebes, but there was a couple pie-billed grebes. There was some wood ducks, some mallards,
house sparrows. I think in there.
Yeah, it was a nice little walk. It's not like a long walk, so it wasn't a big waste of time or anything. It was it was good to get out.
In the woods, it was not really going on too much, and I think we were about to loop to the exit, and we thought, let's take a little sit down on this bench. And that's when we saw a biggish bird perch in a tree. Mm-hmm. And we kind of crept up closer and closer as best we could, and we upset some deer. Yeah. And then we ID'd 2 Cooper's hawks that were perched up there.
Yeah, that was nice to watch those.
Wasn't as close as the other one we saw.
Right.
But it was good to see.
Yeah.
And then as we were heading back round, there was a sign that said that there's a great grey owl that nests here during the winter.
Yeah, which I wish we had known that earlier in the year.
When we were dead for anything, we would have came there.
So I think, and we drove all the way up to Saxon Bog to try to see one of those, and there was one 20 minutes away.
Yeah, and then another bird who was quite excited and talked about a sourweed owl.
Yeah. And so I think next winter we'll have to head back there and see if the owls are hanging out.
Oh, but there was one lifer there. The pine warblers.
That's true. That was our first true sign of spring.
There was
a warbler.
We were kind of not expecting it. We thought maybe just a yellow or something, but no, it was a pine. We were quite excited. So
yeah.
For even our quietest walks, there's always something.
Yeah, we've been doing pretty good this year with that. There's always at least one or two big highlights for each trip we've done.
But that's kind of the tip of the iceberg, really, in terms of what we've been doing.
The last 2 that we've done, I mean, the spring migration has really inflated the numbers on these walks, and the last 2 really blew our expectations out of the water. Yeah,
we did. First did Lake Elmo.
Yeah.
Which I'd been to before, but I don't think you had been there.
No, I don't think I have.
And then William O'Brien State Park, which I did a few years ago when I first started doing eBay. A lot of my initial lifers were there because it was like the first time I did an actual checklist.
2 or 3 years since I'd been there.
And I knew it'd be good. We were always talking about, like, we're going to go there, but we're going to wait. We just kept biding our time. Like, no, let's just keep doing these little ponds. Wait until it gets...
Wait for the migration, because that would be a good spot.
Once it hit April, like, we'll do it. So, Lake Elmo was first. I think we did about 6 miles walking in about 4 hours.
Yeah, so lots of walking, lots of stopping and looking. It was a good mix. Yeah,
it's a lot of waterfowl initially. We stopped by, not Lake Elmo itself, but there was like another lake pond.
Marshy pond looking
thing. We did see some green-winged teals there.
That's true, yeah.
Green-winged teals and blue-winged teals. Ring-necked ducks, some buffleheads, and some hooded mergansers, which might have been, I don't think we'd seen too many. And then there was a large flock that went overhead.
That's right.
And we just assumed at the time that it was probably just more teals or mallards.
Yeah, but I snapped a bunch of pictures as good as I could.
It was a great thing you did because it turned out it was canvasbacks.
Yeah.
Lifer for both of us and not expected.
Right.
and your white whale.
The redhead.
Redheads.
Which they're very similar ducks. Thankfully, like one of the pictures was good enough to differentiate between the two.
And I think
it comes down to their head shape.
I think on Merlin too, one of the pictures of one of them, when you're scrolling through like the other pictures, is just like a big group of both saying, "Here's with canvasbacks and redheads."
Yeah.
Like, all right, that tracks.
Yeah. So that was a nice surprise later on that night when I was going through the pictures.
I think it's a few times now where we've thought maybe it's a lifer, but then there'll be another surprise one or something where it's like you think it could be this, but you never know.
So that was a good surprise. And then there was some sandhill cranes, which we got some really good up close looks at, which that's always nice because
they were very well blended in.
Yeah,
I think
they're primeval looking birds too when you get up close to them.
Yeah, they were in the reeds, and I could see like a bit of red, and I thought it was just one of those little plant things, and then it's like, oh no, it's an eye shape. So that was good.
A big flock of double-crested cormorants flew overhead. That was kind of interesting to see. I assumed they flew in flocks like that, but it was.
Yeah, you called it at the time, and it was hard to say because I've seen a few together, but never really a big group. But
they were kind of doing a V formation, but it was pretty messy and.
They weren't honking. That's usually a good sign. If it's not honking, you rule out geese.
There was, I think it was like 2 or 3 eastern phoebes.
Yep.
Which I think I saw some like the week before on my own, but those were the first of the year.
First of the year for me, yeah.
There's a couple mourning doves sitting on a sign.
Very photogenic for you. They were posing.
Let me get pretty close, and they just didn't care. And then a single brown creeper, that was a nice one to get off the list because you kind of have to hunt for those a little bit. Yeah,
because there was a load of chickadees, and there was just the base of a tree, and we just got a quick look at them. So, that's we knew something different right away, so that was good. I think. Not sure it was a lifer, but definitely new for the year.
Yeah.
Again, we've ran out of times of what a lifer is because we've seen so much stuff. But one thing we've been getting better at is birds of prey.
Yeah.
We do a little bop sweep, as we call it, and that's when we kind of stop looking around the trees and look at the sky. And typically, what always happens is one comes across when there's trees in the way.
Yeah, that seems to be the trend. Is that when we're under trees, we'll see something fly, kind of see glimpses of it, and then when we're out in the open, there's nothing. It's been getting pretty annoying actually.
But we're getting better at tracking them and IDing them. So I think the first one was a sharp-shinned hawk.
Yeah.
And that was a hard one because we thought it could have been a kestrel, I think, initially.
Yeah, I kind of ran through the gamut of it. I even got an okay picture. We thought maybe it was a kestrel, and then I looked at the picture and I was like, I think it's a merlin. And then later on I was laying in bed and I was like, it wasn't a merlin. And so I looked at the picture again, and it was sharp-shinned hawk.
The habitat was right for any of them, really.
Of them, so they're all similar sized. It was just.
And I got a brief look through the knocks. I made saw with my eyes, and it was a good thing you got the picture. But it's one of those ones, a bit like the Coopers, where I know I've seen loads of them, but I haven't been able to officially tick it off because I don't know when you're driving on the highway which one it is. So it was good to say, all right, officially seen one. Lake Elmore has 2 nesting osprey, which I had seen before, and I was excited for Aaron to see. They were on their little perch, and then they started flying around. It was because they were chasing off bald eagles that were daring to kind of come in the area. It was a juvenile bald eagle, and then there was an adult bald eagle too. It seemed they were quite aggressive about it.
Not like them being close to their nest.
No, but I think there was 2 main highlights like that. This is all just preamble for the 2 big ones. First, not a lifer, but there was a great blue heron.
Yeah, that was a good spot by you. I didn't even notice him standing there.
Well, it's funny because you were looking at what you thought was a downy woodpecker.
Yeah.
And you said, there's a downy there, and I looked and went, neat. And then, let's look at this heron. And it turns out that it was actually a lifer for me because it was a yellow-bellied sapsucker.
Yeah, I snapped a picture.
It was a good thing we had that.
Downy woodpecker.
Moving on. Look at what's this doing. Because it looked like the heron was attempting to... had grass in its mouth, was what we first thought. And it turns out it was actually a snake that was trying to eat it. And we must have stood there for about 5 minutes. Yeah. My arms were so tired to hold my knocks up.
I don't know what I think he was just trying to make sure it was dead. I don't know.
He was shaking it around.
Shaking it over and over. And...
He dropped it a few times, and I'd pick it up again. I thought he'd lost it in the water, and he was readjusting. And then when it did eat it, it was less than a second. It was just gone.
Yeah. I was getting ready with my camera. I was like, I'm going to get a good picture of it eating it. And then I was like, I looked down at my camera, looked back up, and it was gone.
Yeah. It was, my arms were so tired from watching it, but it was a fun one. But no, it was after we saw that sharp-shinned hawk. We heard a loud call. Did you recognize the call, or was it Merlin?
No, I recognized that it was something different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was Merlin. Which hadn't you gotten it out to see if maybe that hawk would do a call?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So you had it out. Be like, oh, maybe the hawk will do, because the hawk had disappeared at that point.
Yeah, but we saw it thought, hunt, maybe he'll make a noise and call its mate or something.
I heard this new call, and I looked over at you like, well, what does it say it is? And well, what was it?
Eastern Meadowlark.
Yeah, it was. That's another surprising one that like I didn't have that one before. You would have thought at some point I would have seen one.
It's big enough and prominent enough.
Yeah.
And the places you go is where it would be.
I have Western Meadowlark already checked off, but I had never gotten Eastern.
So we went hunting for it.
Yeah, he was kind of hiding.
It was for a bird as bright and as large as it is.
Yeah.
It took us a bit longer than we should have done.
It's one of those where it's so loud that it's hard to tell where the sound is coming from.
Is it close or is it carried?
It could be from such a big range. Yeah. But once we saw it, it was so obvious he was sitting at the top of a tree just doing his call.
Yep. And there was another one that was calling back to it, and Elmo kind of loops around, so we actually looped back to the trail and went around the other side of this tree, and we saw it, and we saw both of them again.
Yeah.
I think you got some good pictures.
Yeah.
And you get audio maybe of one of them too.
I think I got audio. Yeah.
But,
I'll insert it right here.
So yeah, it was good. But there was a downside. Your new white whale.
Yeah. We were walking along, and all of a sudden, well, let me see if I can mimic what they sound like. No, maybe that's not. It's probably not close. They're not quite sound like turkeys, but it was a ring-necked pheasant.
Which you've never seen. I've seen it here. I've seen it in the UK as well.
As far as I can remember, I think in like high school I saw one while I was driving, but never like in a birding context.
And we heard it, and it sounded so close. We thought we're guaranteed to see it.
So we follow this little trail towards it, and then it does the noise again, and it sounds like it's 20 feet away in the grass, in like this tall grass. And we just keep looking and looking, and then all of a sudden it's hearing in the distance. It's going off in the distance. So I don't know if there was a second one going off in the distance. So
it felt like there was 5 of them just luring us. So when we got near one,
we'd go that direction, nothing, and then back from where we came, it would sound off again. So we were just bouncing all over. It's like this empty campground area of the park.
There's no way it was one because we would have seen it.
Yeah.
Because even though they're going to be quite elusive and quick, it's like we would have heard it. We heard no rustling.
So it's just us sadly walking around this campground trying to find these pheasants that kept sounding off in the distance.
It was like 30 minutes, and it was heated. I think we missed a bird of prey too. There was a few birds we missed out on because we got sidetracked.
So so that was a big bummer.
But it was successful otherwise. Lake Elmo was great.
That was just a sad way to end it.
Yeah.
Because I was right at the end of the walk was the pheasants.
And we were tired too.
Tired from the walk, and we'd already walked like 6 miles.
Warm, thirsty, because we weren't smart enough to bring any snacks or drinks.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lake Elmo was great. But really,
we'll get a pheasant eventually.
Yeah. And then, but I feel like Lake Elmo doesn't really compare to our trip to William O'Brien.
Yeah, which we did last weekend.
Yeah.
So it was right at the beginning of May, like May 3rd or something like that. May 4th. So spring migration's in full swing now. Now we're talking. So we had there. What the idea was so they've got this big loop that you can do, but then there's also this smaller loop that runs along the river. And I had seen northern ruffed-winged swallows there, so I was like, oh, we could walk along the river. You can check those off. Maybe there'll be some other swallows we can check off, but that trail was closed. So like, all right, I guess we'll do this other big loop that we don't quite know if it'll be great or not. Ended up being really, really awesome.
Yeah,
it wove us through marshy areas. There was prairies, there was woods. It was like a little bit of everything. So I'm kind of glad we didn't do the river walk. It worked out perfectly for us.
Yeah, and it started strong before we even got there too, because you came and picked me up at the lake near my place.
So we did a little mini 15-minute up and down this little road.
And chipping sparrows were there, palm warblers, which was that your lifer, the palm warbler?
Not a lifer, but first
new for the year, yeah.
New for Minnesota too, I think. I think I saw them down in Florida.
They're quite distinct too. Now seeing them up close, got some good pictures. There's some cormorants that are nesting in a dead tree where I live. They've came back again, so it was good to see them. A couple of eastern kingbirds, catbird, or killdeer. So it was like we were off to a good start before we even got there.
Yeah.
I think the stats kind of the big one, right? It was we were there. We did almost 7 miles.
Yeah, it was about 7 miles.
And we're out there for 5 hours.
Yeah. I think all in total we saw 50 species. Like exactly 50, which was kind of a nice round number to get to.
A crazy high number too.
Yeah, and several of those were lifers for one or both of us.
Yeah, I think you had 5 or 6 lifers. I had 3 lifers.
I think it was 5 for me.
5 for you.
And a bunch of that 50 was new for the year, so I know it like almost doubled the number I had seen.
Yeah, it was like I got at least 15 lifers.
Yeah.
15 for the year. For that, it was incredible. It was
really good.
And we brought drinks and sandwiches this time, so we took a break and we were like, all right, once we start flagging, we'll take a little break. And I think the second half of the walk, there was barely anyone really that we saw.
Yeah,
it was somewhat busy to begin with, and then we sort of went a bit further out.
Yeah. So I think kind of with the first things that we saw, there was a field sparrow. It was kind of in this nice grassy area, but the grass is still dead and tamped down, so we've got a good look at him sitting there in a little bush.
Yeah.
Which I thought at the time might have been a lifer, but I had seen one a couple years ago.
New for the year, either way.
New for the year, and I got a good picture of it. And then there's a blue-gray net catcher sounding off in the trees, which was a lifer for me. I'm sure I've heard them before. Now that I know what they sound like,
they're quite distinct despite it being high pitched. Like if you get your ear read, it's good.
There was we saw a Lincoln sparrow, which that was one I had to confirm later on with the picture.
Yeah, I saw it in the path and thought it's definitely a different sparrow to the other sparrows, but I don't know what it is.
I was pretty dismissive. I was like, it's just like a song sparrow or something. But I took a picture anyways, just to appease you. I'm glad I did, because later on then I looked and I was like, that is different. Alex was right. Maybe I should trust the guy with the huge binoculars standing next to me.
It's like, I don't know what it is, but I know what it's not sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all you need to know. I think the least flycatcher was similar in the sense we knew it was not a phoebe.
We couldn't get a great look at it because there was some branches in the way. We thought maybe a phoebe, but it wasn't dark enough on the head. But it was gray and had the wing bars going on. So I got a picture of it. Least flycatcher was a pretty good ID. And then we saw a really brief glimpse of a scarlet tanager way up in a tree.
We were that was one of the ones we were looking for, the vireo.
Yeah, we had Merlin going, and it was saying there was a yellow-throated vireo by us. So we're standing there waiting for it to do its call again. And all of a sudden, you're like, "Oh, look, a tanager!"
Yeah, it was.
It was really far away, but I mean, for as bright as they are, you still could get a good look at it.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the only bird the vireo was the only one you heard but didn't see.
Because for most of the walk, Merlin was saying that there was rose-breasted grosbeaks. We just couldn't, for the life of us, find one. And then, like way towards the end of the walk, then there was a male sitting up in a tree.
Got a quick glimpse.
I got a good look at it, and then by the time you saw it, he was just about to fly away.
Good enough to count, but it was. It really tries. It's just hard to summarize everything we saw. But a lot of warblers.
A lot of warblers. That's the big part of the spring migration is the warblers, and that was our goal. Was if we're gonna hit our number goals for the year, warblers are gonna have to be a big part of it.
I think on my life list, it was I've only seen 3 or 4.
Yeah.
It's like I know not all of them come through here.
Such an easy way to inflate your numbers is just
if you get an ID
during warbler season and get a good ID on them. There's just so many possibilities. So what we saw on this walk in particular was a blue-winged warbler.
Yep.
There was a couple black and white warblers.
It was another one where we sort of heard it and sort of moved. Should we count it or not? And then there was one right next to us. Like, all right, that takes that dilemma out.
There was orange-crowned warbler. We didn't get a great look at that one, but good enough.
Yep.
Always a bunch of yellow rump warblers. Those are everywhere.
We saw a yellow warbler.
Yeah, a couple yellow warblers.
And heard them, and then
a lot more palm warblers.
So I'd never seen a palm warbler in my life, and then this trip and before we got out, it's went from elusive lifer to just I'm seeing one just a present almost. I think we did mark it as present.
I gave up. They were neat at the beginning, but by the end I was like, go away.
I can't keep counting
we don't see you anymore.
Whereas the black and white was like 3, blue wing was like 1 or 2, and it's like
But one warbler in particular was a good spot by you. which you called it what it was, and I confirmed later with the photo. Let's have you tell this story.
Yeah.
This is your pride and joy.
Yeah, it was, because I was looking at warblers to think, all right, what am I trying to look for? Like, what's the distinctive features? And there's one that has this little black cap, and I thought it looks stupid. And I was like, show my wife the picture, and look at this dopey-looking warbler. And it's a Wilson warbler. And maybe people think it's adorable, but I think it looks a little bit dopey with its little, like, flat black cap.
Yeah.
And then we were looking at where there was other warblers, and I had a little look, and I thought, black cap immediately.
He was just flitting around so fast.
It was really
I tried
hard
to take a bunch of pictures. They're all blurry. There's a single picture where all you can see is his butt, and then a big branch, and then like the top half of his head, and so you can see the black cap.
Yeah.
So it was a good for the ID. So it was a good call by you. It was a good thing you studied.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known otherwise.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the unique features are, but that one's quite a distinct one. So that was a good one.
Yeah, and then shortly after that, we were walking along. There's kind of a marshy, reedy area, and all of a sudden we both knew it immediately. It was a wren was doing its call.
Yep.
Their wrens were very distinctive.
Merlin picked it up and Comp said sedge.
Sedge wren, which I knew I had never seen.
I think I saw one last time I was at William O'Brien, but I know it was one where it's probably someone I was with heard it and said, "Oh, that's one of them." I'm like, "All right, neat."
Yeah.
But this one was us.
Yeah. So then we couldn't see it because they sit down so low. So we stood there for at least 15 minutes waiting
easily.
For him and finally he flew up into a bush.
I think I moved along the path a bit, and I don't know if I spooked it or just it triggered something, and then you caught it, you watched it and tracked it.
Yeah. So I didn't get a great look at it because he was so little and far away, but got to see him with my naked eye. So.
Yeah, and we saw it making its call, and I've learned with them and with sparrows, like the swamp sparrow especially, if you see it making its noise, like, all right, I'm not going to get the ID off what it looks like, but if I can see it make the call and I hear it make the call, that's good enough for me.
Yeah. So that was a nice feather in our cap there, and then there was a eastern towhee earlier on. Which
was that a lifer for you?
Not a lifer for me. Probably the best look I've gotten at one though.
It was because quite an elusive one because we were hearing it and Merlin was picking it up.
It was very loud. It was like sounded like it was right there. So you were on the apps looking up, what's their behaviors, what are we looking for, and you're like, all right, it says they hop around in the foliage, pick stuff off the ground. So then we're looking down low, and finally there he is, just hopping along. It kind of reminds you of a robin, but just darker.
Quite distinct. They're quite pretty.
They're very pretty.
So I was glad to see it. And it was hopping around the foliage and like picking up leaves and throwing them about.
And then we just kept hearing them and seeing them the rest of the walk. So we spent a lot of time to find that first one where we could have probably just kept walking. Yeah,
but you never know. You never know if it's just gonna be the single one. But
to end the walk, there was one special bird.
Very special moment for us.
We had a lot of these walks. We were going into these places because this bird had been reported, and in the back of our mind, this was something we really wanted to see this year.
You were always like, "Oh, could see a thing here." I'm like, "Yeah, we could." And to be honest, I didn't think we would because it's a elusive bird.
Very elusive. It's in marshy areas, and so we get to the last map that shows the trails, and it shows a little fork, and you can go one of two ways. One seemed like a boring way, and the other one went through the wetland area, is what it was called.
Well, may as well go. So we'll give it a shot.
We'll go this way. We'll see what happens.
And there was nothing much. For the most part, I don't even saw anything else in that area. Well, that's
where we saw the grosbeak.
Grosbeak, yeah. I think it was a turkey vulture that flew across. But
and so we're walking along, and then all of a sudden we hear this really weird call. Like it's like a descending laugh.
It was like if a shorebird was doing a woodpecker impression.
And I was like, that might be what I think it is. And so I pull out the Audubon app that I've got, and I went through the different calls of this bird, and I found the one that was like identical to it. And so I'm playing it for Alex, and then all of a sudden out in the marsh it responds, which I know it's not great to sit there and do call and response with your phone because it can stress out the birds. But it was nice to get a little confirmation there that he was still out there.
It was more just seeing if that's what it was. It was like playing. I thought that's it, and then it happened to reply to it. And like, all right, well, if we sit here and wait, so maybe it'll come closer.
And then all of a sudden he poked out of the little grassy area. He was a lot smaller than I was expecting.
He was a little lad.
And what was he, Alex?
It was a Sora.
Sora. Which I had not heard of until maybe a year or two ago when I saw a picture online of one. And I was like, oh, that's a really cool looking bird.
My wife's like, oh, the people are seeing Sora at the... I think that's why I went to the Cedar Bridge was why I went there. And it's like, oh, they probably have scopes or they're coming at 6 a.m. or something.
They're these little shorebird looking fellas. And it was so tiny. It was like the size of a robin. Maybe it's slightly bigger.
Yeah. It went through a little tunnel in the earth. Yeah. It was like a little, in the reeds, there was this little tunnel and it popped out on the other side and then went back through.
They've got a really distinct yellow bill. They're kind of a gray chest with like a black spot on it.
You got one great picture of it. I think, a pretty good picture for where it was.
It's covered in some reeds and stuff, but it's a decent picture of it. This will be up on the YouTube version, but that was a nice one to get checked off because it was kind of in the back of our mind this whole time, and we kept thinking, oh, maybe here we'll see it. But now I understand why we've not seen them. We've probably walked right past them before, but
we saw a Sora.
Yeah, if he hadn't made the call, like we would have never
kept on walking.
Known. Yeah,
we were looking. There was nothing else out there, but yeah, he just made it at the right time, and we were right there.
Yeah,
that was right at the end of the walk, so it was like a perfect finish.
And I think after that, the only thing we added was like a barn swallow was the first of the year.
We did hear another pheasant.
We did hear another pheasant.
And then you started walking down this path, and we've done.
I can't. It's been 7 miles. I can't right now. We'll come back.
We finished our drinks. It was like it must have been 2 or 3 at that point. So it was so warm.
Yeah. These pheasants, man. So hopefully by the end of the year we can get a pheasant.
Yeah, and if you've not been to William O'Brien, would recommend
Definitely recommend.
The amount of things.
We didn't even do the full big loop.
No.
We probably could have added like 4 more miles onto it. That would have been crazy, but...
And there'll be other warblers that'll be going through there. And like I said, we kept hearing vireos, but we didn't see one, so that's another one to get. But I feel like it's a good time to go over our numbers for the year.
Yeah, so let's go over our goal progress here. So, like I said in the last episode, my goal for the year was to match or exceed last year's number, which I got to 127. And so far, I'm feeling pretty good about it. Right as of recording, I'm at 107. I was at 106 until that
sandpiper
bumped me up one. So I'm at 107. So I need 20 more to match. So 21 to go over. I've got 7 more months to do it, counting May. I know we're halfway through May, so 6.5 months.
Still got some of the migration.
Some more migration.
It'll be full migration.
Yeah. If we're proactive for this spring, and then proactive here in the fall, I think I can get it. But definitely our dedication to walking early on in the year really helped push it, because if I was only at like 70 right now, I wouldn't be feeling great.
Yeah, but, touching distance almost. And
yeah,
there's a lot we can still see.
I had set a secondary goal for lifers, which I wanted to try to hit 215. Originally, I was thinking 200, but I've already gone past that.
The Eastern Meadowlark was the 200th.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I was 200, and I've already gotten 8 more since then, so I'm at 208. So I'm only 7 away, which I think is doable, especially at the rate we're going with them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if I don't, but I wouldn't be surprised if I do.
Yeah.
I think if we're pretty proactive and go out and try to seek some of these lifers, go to these parks where we know there might be, and do little dedicated trips.
There's always posts where someone says, oh, there's, like you mentioned, there's like flamingos in Wisconsin.
Right, yeah. If something like that happens, maybe we
get up and go
for some of these places. Or we've talked about maybe driving over to kind of right at the South Dakota border. There could be some burrowing owls over there. I know there's parks where they're known to be. Stuff like that. We make some dedicated trips, and then you never know what else you see while you're out there.
And hopefully Saxon Bog may be another one.
Yeah, head back up there this summer.
We know there's a few there that we didn't see. Those boreal chickadees.
Yeah.
They got their number.
But I think trying to, especially with the spring migration, just trying to get a couple more warblers, lifers. I'm doing pretty good on my warbler numbers overall, but there's still plenty to be seen.
Yeah, I think I've doubled mine, and there's still, that's probably like a quarter of what we can see.
Yeah. So what about you, Alex? How's your goal going?
Yeah, my goal was to reach 100 for the year. Because I know 132 was last year, and that had the nice crutch of UK birds where just looking out the window, it's, oh, there's 4 lifers. And my life list was 168, so I didn't think I'd reach 200.
Yeah, well, how's that going then for you?
Excellent. I'm at 112 for the year.
Yeah, you've already surpassed me. I was ahead of you for a while there, but
Unemployed life has helped me out.
Putting in the miles here. Yeah, I've been working here for the last 3 or 4 weeks now, and it's slowed down my progress. You're kicking my butt now.
So that was great. 20 away from beating my record. But like you, I think it'll take some effort. But you think of all the like feasible birds that we've not seen. You know, cedar waxwings, pelicans are
pelicans aren't back yet.
There's at least 3 or 4 vireos, more warblers, ruby-throated hummingbird. I think it can be done for the year. And then for the life list, I'm at 192. Actually, no, not 112. I'm at 113 because of the sandpiper. And I'm at 192 for lifers.
Only 8 more. So I need 7. You need 8 for our goals. That's doable.
I've had 24 lifers since our last recording at the end of February.
That's crazy. That just shows how much just putting in the time and the miles really pays off.
Yeah, I am really excited about it because I think what's really helped me is getting outside more. You know, like we discussed and being proactive. In addition to the walks that Aaron and I have done, I went to Schooneman Wildlife Preserve, where we went once quite a while back. It was like a little Boy Scout place.
That's a nice grassy area.
It was good for the swallows, and there's like reeds, and there I saw 3 northern harriers.
Nice.
Including the male, the grey ghost. We thought it was like a gull. Like, what's a gull doing in this field? But I've also been doing a weekly loop around my neighborhood. There's a park which has woodland and open prairie area, and then there's a couple of lakes and a pond that I can kind of incorporate. And even though I'm treading the same path every week, I've seen either a new year bird or a lifer every time. Just this past week, I saw a Tennessee warbler, a wood thrush, and a graded crested flycatcher. I've spotted red-shouldered hawks, house wrens, Baltimore orioles, brown thrasher, solitary sandpiper, greater yellowlegs, turkey vultures, broadwing hawks. It's been rewarding.
A little bit of everything there.
Yeah, I think we're gonna hopefully plan a trip there for our next recording.
Walk around your neighborhood. Sounds like it's a good loop.
I need your help with some of the warbler IDs because when they're so high up, it's like pictures are hopefully where you can get a good look. And one thing I'll say, we've discussed it before, but I think the Merlin app has really helped me on my solo trips. It flagged, obviously you do take some of its audio with a pinch of salt. But what I tend to do is if it sees a bird, it flags a bird, then I'll look at the description of it, like where the behavior is, what the habitats and the calls are. And just by doing that, my ability to recognize calls has improved.
It's a good learning tool.
Yeah, like the Tennessee warbler, I didn't think it was there, and I read the description, and I then heard the sound itself, and then I saw one making that noise. Like, if I just trusted Merlin, I probably wouldn't have went with it. Same with woodpeckers, getting better at just hearing them, and birds of prey too. I've gone from really not knowing what to look for to being able to identify or like eliminate certain ones based on how they're flying, or the size of like their bands on their tail, or like their wing shape. Not an expert by all means, but compared to last year, even the beginning of this year.
Yeah, well, I know, I think one of our fall episodes last year, you mentioned that you kind of wanted to learn bird of prey ID, and that was kind of one of your internal goals for this year, which I feel like it's going pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it'd be something like I'd have to do a course, but really just by walking constantly, I went from I'm not gonna be like idea bird of prey unless Aaron's there with a picture, or it makes
exposure therapy to the birds of prey.
Truly has, and it's been real rewarding, and I think it's even if you're working, if you can get a stretch of your legs, just even an hour loop in this.
I mean, we're right in the middle of migration here with all the warblers and everything coming through. I think this is prime time to get out and do some walking and see what you find.
We're in a great state for it too. Got a bit of everything in terms of like the biome.
For sure.
So yeah, it's been a bumper episode this one, but we've just seen so much.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be able to do another episode soon and have a lot more to talk about. Especially
hit these records we're hoping to get.
Yeah, we really need to get our goals here. But I think that's gonna do it for us. Thanks, Alex, for always joining me. Thanks for putting together the outline today with all of our parks. It was a big help.
We've done a lot of checklists because even those walks where we went to two places,
checklists Aaron
was very diligent in making sure we had a checklist for every location. which is good. But
Yeah.
it meant, oh man, I had to open like 30 of them just to figure out what we'd
Thank you
seen.
for consolidating that. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody for listening. Appreciate your support. If you want to provide any feedback, you can email us at featherytreasury@gmail.com. We'd love to hear what you got to say. If you want anything other information about Feathery Treasury, I've got a little website going, featherytreasury.com.
Some excellent photos on there after these trips.
I need to update those. I've got a little slideshow on there, but it's not pretty up to date. I gotta go through and maybe sort out some of the lesser quality ones and put in some really good ones. But besides that, everybody have a good day. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.